A shooting at an elementary school in Connecticut has left at
And
least
even she
27
says
dead,
classmates
including
beating her
12
up.
children.
Weeks after
That is
posting a
coming from
video on
officials
YouTube,
of the
another
situation.
child committed suicide.
Pardon the interruption, but I think God's got a message for you. I'm sorry, that's presumptuous. I think God's got a message for all of us. It's a song given to you and given to me. A majestic melody, a holy harmony, and a sweet symphony. Orchestrated by God so lovingly, it creates a perfectly painted picture of wholeness. So picture this, you and I, the individual music notes coming together for the song that God titled Unity. Unity. That state of oneness, completeness, and wholeness. A gorgeous gift where souls once apart come together for a singular vision. And man's separated hearts together for their God-given mission. Yet so often, this gift is used incorrectly and thrown to the side as people lose focus on us and they just focus on I. But I am no good on my own. For what good is the I apart from the body? What can the I say to the body? That I don't need you? You must be crazy to think that that's true. You're thinking this is nonsense. You want to hear some proof. Open 1 Corinthians 12:27. Right there, you'll see the truth. We're the body of Christ, so edification doesn't come from separation, but only true elation can come from unification. We need to have relationship with another. We need to love on all our sisters and have fellowship with our brothers. God's the best example. 3 parts of the Trinity, Father, Spirit, Son, but one God in perfect unity. So what happens when the unity is broken? When men in his arrogance goes against what God has spoken? Well, let's take a step to the dawn of all creation, to the first split, the breakup, and the first accusation. Papa and Mama, Adam and Eve, they had a unity with God like you couldn't believe, until they did something foolish, followed the serpent and went their own way. They disobeyed God. At the time it seemed okay, but immediately the connection was broken and taken away. It was evident when God accused them. What more could they say? The damage was done. Disunity was born that day. Disunity, the sickness, the curse, the bondage, the hatred. It's a cancer so flagrant, seeps into the veins of mankind. It poisons our hearts and destroys our minds. Disunity can take an 11-day trip to the promised land and make it 40 years long. Ring the bell and sound the gong. Something's wrong with that picture. But nowadays, we say it's right and righteous in our sight, because we call it by another name that we justify and legalize, called divorce. That common practice where people take what God put together and split it apart because they couldn't see heart to heart. They couldn't see eye to eye because they were too focused on I and I. Their marriage reduced to nothing more than a high and a bye. Disunity leaving behind pain, anger, and broken homes as people walk around like husks with broken souls. Disunity caused this fatherless generation where it's normal to see a man spread his seed far and wide, but never does he water it. He just leaves the woman alone with no one at her side. Just that life that's growing inside and all the tears that she's cried. By now, I think we understand the importance of unity. Let's not, you and me, misinterpret it, because unity without God, it's not always used for good. Even Satan will use unity for his own purposes when casting out his net, and sometimes he's met with unknowing participants in his twisted designs against God, like Jewish leaders unified in their singular purpose in crucifying Christ, or the copious amounts of Ku Klux Klansmen committing countless crimes and killing countless civilians because of the color of their skin. Even churches that come together to preach not for God's love, but their condemnation and hatred against other people under the guise of biblical truth. Nations behind a man named Adolf Hitler who committed a genocide of a race whose only crime was simply existing. Unity is the most powerful tool across these lands, but a weapon of destruction in the wrong hands. But what of the right hands, God's hands, gifted from him to a righteous man to serve his plans? Jesus prayed that we would be brought to complete unity. Don't believe? Open John 17:23. Like the priests in Solomon's temple or the apostles on the day of Pentecost, we come to unite in one accord to connect to God and reach the lost. Unity's all around. Just take a look at creation. A grain of rice feeds no one, but millions could feed nations. A drop of water's nothing to a thirsty kid who hurts, but put enough would form a river. Now that might quench his thirst. See, we need the kind of unity that finds a need and meets it. We need the kind of unity that can find a hurt and heal it. It's time to communicate unity and form a community that reaches out with love and joins in God's family. Let the body come together like pieces of the one, united for God's purpose like the Father, Spirit, and Son.